Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Galactic Driftwood. We should have some fun discussions this week. I'm Bill.
I'm Jenna.
Charles. John.
And I'm Seth.
And we just spent the week, well, some of us spent the week getting caught up on Alita Battle Angel and is it Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel. Marvel was the scientist who she got her powers from in the movie, and there was an actual Captain Marvel who was Kree in the comics, too.
Okay.
It's a whole thing.
Then there's Captain Marvel who Shazam, so there's lots of different...
Yeah, but that's DC.
Yeah.
And they lost the copyright war on that one.
They did. So, yes.
That kind of sucks.
Did you turn on the cameras? Because we're having a rough start.
The cameras are on. We could start over.
I like
It looks like John broke my Galactic Driftwood display on the back monitor there.
How did I do that? Oh, I probably did that.
Yep.
This is why we can't have nice things here at Galactic Driftwood, because I'm either spilling coffee on it or John is breaking it.
Usually one of them isn't Galactic Driftwood. That's why I didn't say anything. I thought, oh, I have any price for this.
I didn't think I closed anything out on the... Yeah, this is... Okay.
Can we just use pictures of the Enterprise as decoration? I don't...
Well...
Speaking of the copyright wars...
I guess we're going to have some gremlin problems today, and it's just...
So this one stays, and then this one...
I want a gizmo.
I like it.
No.
That one doesn't do anything.
Jenna,
Yes, it does.
Yeah, we all
you
want
can't handle a gizmo.
Mogwai.
It would...
Yeah.
Omaha would be burning within the week.
Yeah.
Only a week?
I'm being generous.
I appreciate the fact that you think I'm matured enough to handle a Mogwai for a week before burning down Omaha.
Well, it would take time to burn down all of Omaha.
In the age of sequels, why haven't they made another Gremlins?
No ideas, John. You do not give them ideas to ruin that franchise.
My bad.
They'll get to it
They did
sooner
make a
or
second.
later.
Unless
they made
Steve...
a second one, didn't they?
Yeah. Well,
That
there's
was-
Gremlins 1 and Gremlins 2, but we're talking about the new remakes.
But
sure. Well.
Steven Spielberg may have locked that shit down so no one can take it from him for a while. I mean, the first one was his.
Sorry.
I can't remember how much involvement he had with the second one, but I know the first one was his. So he's pretty good about keeping a firm hold on a lot of his stuff.
Right up until somebody throws a big enough briefcase of money at him.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
sir. Fair enough.
Yeah, look how fast Lucas threw away the Ewoks when he got that $4 billion.
I would have sold Star Wars for $4 billion.
I would have sold it for
$1 billion.
less.
Less.
Less. I don't know what the price of that would be for me, but it's like, I mean, I feel Lucas, it's good that it's out of his hands after all. He kept like fixing things all the time and making it weird. But
Well, when it's your baby, it's never perfect. You always want to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, but you also have to be willing to, at some point, go, okay, it's good. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
I think, a very awesome phrase to hear when I did a lot of artwork in high school from my teacher. She used to say, a work of art is never done. It just stops in interesting places. And I think that applies to writing. I feel like that applies to cosplay. I think that it applies to anything of creative that involves creative endeavors, that it's never quite, there's always going to be things you want to tweak and work on, but giving yourself the room to say, hey, it's interesting here. Now what's next?
Huh?
So kind of like
The Bob Ross happy accident, I think is what.
Bob Ross. Yeah, there you go. That works.
Yeah, but then again, I suppose if I could make an extra 50 to 100 million every time I wanted to add 5 seconds of video to that great movie I made once, I might be tempted too.
5 seconds that he shot already in '76. It's just putting the stuff that he has in his vault. in there,
replacing
yeah.
the fat old gangster who used to be Jabba with the new Jabba slug
Yeah.
CGI.
CGI Jabba.
Yeah, because I mean that's something I think that movie producers and editors must struggle with. So you think about Captain Marvel and you can think about Alita. Getting back to our topic today, there was probably so much more they could have added, especially with something that's got a book base like Alita, or the comic book base like for Captain Marvel. There was probably so far they could have taken it, and they've probably got 3 hours of footage back somewhere in a vault as well. But you have to piece together what is reasonable for the audience, or at least for opening audience, because generally you have to
Yeah.
build a following before you're ready to release the 5-hour director's cut.
Well,
Yeah.
I will kind of disagree with you here, Jenna, on Battle Angel Alita, in that they really should have done less in that movie and had like planned more for sequels, because I think they tried to cram too much into Battle Angel Alita.
And that's a fair.
I thought it was great.
Well, yeah,
I did.
I liked the movie. I just thought that they tried to cram too much of the content in. Like they had the first 2 or 3 story arcs of the manga and the original movies in there, where they could have just done like the first 2, padded those out with a little bit more content from the original thing, and had a better structured movie narrative-wise.
Okay, so here's the position you're put in, though, as someone like James Cameron or Robert Rodriguez. You have this awesome movie or storyline that you wanna capture, and you know it's probably not gonna be. It's either gonna really hit or it's gonna really fail. Do you risk not having the complete packageable story, and only ever get to do one movie, or do you just do one piece that obviously should have a sequel and the sequel never gets funded?
Yeah, but they had like several complete packageable stories within Battle Angel Alita. They had like 2 full arcs, half of another,
No, but
and it still ended on the cliffhanger.
And that's fair, but at least it's something. It was a better cliffhanger than most. And that you've had
Should we warn people that there might be spoilers?
all the spoilers.
Oh, yes,
spoilers.
Yeah.
spoilers for both Battle Angel Alita and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen them, you might want to tune out and wait to watch the rest of the show, which will definitely be worth watching.
Or you
after
go
you've
out and you
seen
go
it.
see them.
Yes.
Yeah, go see
immediately.
them and
Yes.
then come back and
Yeah,
watch us.
I
If
just
you
see
don't,
it
if you
either.
don't know what a flirkin is, you shouldn't be listening to this.
Or a gherkin.
No, flirkin.
Oh.
Gherkins, people know. I would hope that people learn what pickles are at some point in their life. But
Jenna didn't know what a gherkin was.
She didn't?
I saw the look on her face.
I thought it was something else.
it's a pickle. It's a pickle.
It's a sweet pickle.
Okay, now I know the
I used-
proper use for
I used to
that.
know a guy named
In,
Sweet
in
Pickle.
what context have you heard gherkin before?
Clear rating. Clear rating.
That's already shot. We'll bury the clear rating, and I'll just change things
Bury it.
over so that it's every episode has a little E next to it.
E for everyone.
Someone's gonna make a penis joke sooner or later. Looking at you,
You look
John.
at me.
Exactly. Okay, so
Am I the font of cock here? I mean, really? This is the guy.
there's
that
what
did
I'm
this?
changing your name to on the site now.
No, you actually gave me a good one. What was that one again?
Doomsayer or
Yeah,
Voice of
The
Doom.
voice of doom. I like that. It's
Yes.
like I can deal with that.
Seems
All right,
pretty
so-
accurate.
But on Alita, how cool of a cliffhanger would it have been if they just like stuck to that the first big story arc through where she has the second fight with what's that huge cyborg's name that got the razor claws?
Yes.
Griskin or something, or
So the movie ends with her like waking up in her new body. That would have been an awesome place to
Not
end
bad. You're right. That would have
for an
been
Yeah, I
ending.
thought
If
the-
they had they would have had room to build out on a few places a bit more, and then the second movie could have been all about her learning her new abilities.
Is there
And
going to be a sequel though?
if they make the movie good enough, yes,
Well, no.
I would
It
rather-
has done very well box office wise.
Yeah, but I keep seeing mixed reviews in terms of. I'm not getting the word Alita Battle Angel sequel. That I don't
Well-
see it. I want it to come up. I want to see that because I really like the movie. But
I thought they could have left out the whole Powerball. part.
Yeah,
'cause
and
that
that's
just
what
seemed too
that's
much.
what would have gone well in the
Yeah.
second movie.
Yeah.
Like if they could have just like paced it better, you could have had a better first movie, which would have led to like maybe more guaranteed sequels. Yeah, maybe you don't get all the content in you want, but you've got a good movie regardless, and then you don't have plot problems.
Yeah.
This
So-
is an author thing with me.
Well, did it feel rushed? I didn't see it.
It felt cramped. Like there
Yeah,
were
there was a
there
lot
were
of stuff in it.
several different climaxes to the like.
That's the
You're like, okay, here's the big final battle, and here's a good place that it could end on. No, we're gonna go right into the next arc that's kind of rushed a little bit through. We don't get to spend as much time with some of the characters as we want to.
Well, who did you want to spend time with?
Well, we could have gotten a whole lot more from like the villain's point of view. They
I
were
would've
just
liked
like
that.
sitting
Yeah,
up
'cause they were
there.
it was just like a gallery of unknowns that
Mhm.
this guy, he does this, he's bad, and that's all you know. It's
and,
like,
and
he's
then like
bad.
the final confrontation, like we'd had the really awesome fight with the giant cyborg like halfway through the film, and then we had the really high energy like murder ball. What did they call it? Powerball.
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 Motorball.
Motorball. We had the really high energy motorball fight, and then the final confrontation. The giant cyborg walks in again, and he's just dead. And then the big bad guy is just dead, and that kind of felt like not a great final confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know more about the robot dog guy. I like the robot dog.
Oh yeah, the robot
Yeah.
dog guy was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely in, what do they call it? When there's a director who has the same thing over, but that actor is in Robert Rodriguez's Barn for a lot of movies.
Wheelhouse.
No, it's not a wheelhouse. I think they call it a barn. Because they're like the same actors use all the time. Maybe it's a stable. Something like that. There's some like industry term for it that there are certain directors who always have the same actors because they love working with them creatively. Like Danny Trejo is another one. I'm really shocked there wasn't a Danny Trejo unless he was some character we didn't realize was Danny Trejo.
Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman.
That but he would have had to pop up in a lot more movies for Del Toro to qualify as that. Like the dog.
There's an actual qualification, or do you have to keep them in an actual stable?
Like maybe both. Like that actor who had the dog is definitely
Oh yeah,
Like-
Doug Jones.
like in 20 different Robert Rodriguez movies and shows at least. So, but it's
Okay, so yeah, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it's very difficult because you want to definitely give people a true sense of this world. Why there would be roaming gangs of people willing to dismantle other human beings for their robotic pieces
I mean,
because
I
of
do
this
that
really
right now.
of this really popular sport. And also, not only do you have to give the context for the civilization, the emotion behind it, the greed, but then you're also trying to get us to care about this character, Alita.
Indeed.
So
And
there's a
I'm
lot.
not-
You're right. It's a lot cramped into it.
It's a lot, and to be fair, that's pretty much my only criticism of the movie, or my only negative take on the movie, and the rest I really liked.
I like the fact that there was a lot of story and not as much special effect action. I mean, there were good action scenes, but it seemed like there was more story than maybe a Fast and Furious or a Transformers or something where it's all, CGI battles and fights and stuff.
Well, and the special effects were so good, just like
Yeah,
all
Yeah.
of the cyborgs wandering around the city,
Yeah.
yeah.
and just like how
Do you remember the one where the guy was playing the guitar and he had the
oh yeah, the
guitar and
extra hand.
his thumb
Too.
actually extended up, and he was playing one of the
Mhm.
guitar sections with his thumb, which I thought was awesome.
Right.
And that's like that's gonna happen.
I mean,
Someday we're going to start putting on parts on people, and they're going to custom design them, and they're going to invent entire new media and entertainment ways to do things. It's going to be neat.
Because that's what struck me about that world, definitely, is like there were people who obviously the only thing that made them human anymore, especially for the motorball, was the fact that they had a human head or a human consciousness, that they had modified their body to such a level that they are a machine, that their purpose is a
Yeah.
machine. They are not obviously acting as much on organic needs and desires.
Yeah. And are they human anymore? It's like,
And that is the question.
The one thing that kind of confused me was the one guy that Alita battled in that bar that had all of the hunters in it.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the sword, right?
Right.
And towards the end, she slices off his face, and it was just like there was more machine behind it.
More machine
And it was
with
like,
a human
so
brain.
Oh, I didn't see the human brain. I didn't notice.
Yeah,
the
it's
human
basically
brain
the
part,
human
but-
brain, but I think one of the, like, he was a complete replacement cyborg, is what they called it.
so
Or
was
they
Alita,
just-
wasn't it?
Yeah, she would have
yeah,
been.
Yeah.
She had a human
and
brain.
That's it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But so that's and they did that on purpose because she was meant to fight. When you read the background and stuff on the other arcs in the storyline, like it became such a priority to have a fighting defense that there are individuals who basically gave up their physical humanity and biology to become weapons. And the assumption is maybe they'll probably have the technology if you survive, if your organic brain tissue survives, to possibly get an organic body later.
Hmm.
So that's what kind of confused me with Alita was I thought that she was a machine where they grew a brain and put it in the machine so that she'd had no physical existence prior to the machine.
No, this is she was still a cyborg. Just,
Okay.
Human, yeah.
So she had been a human first and then...
Mhm.
And that's what he said. He's like a normal teenage girl's brain, as normal as you can get with a
Yeah.
teenage girl.
Yeah.
And then all of this encapsulated in all of this other amazing tech.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's Ghost in the Shell, which kind of which covers it from both ends, where you've got full-on AIs, androids walking around interacting with people who have wetware in their brains and that sort of thing. And Ghost in the Shell is another kind of like anime classic.
Well, so was she a volunteer?
They didn't get into that in the movie.
And I haven't read enough of the manga to find out. They're a little hard to find in the physical sense.
See, and they showed flashbacks, but the only flashbacks were of her as a warrior fighting a battle. And I would have thought if she'd had a normal childhood, she would have had some flashbacks of that normal childhood.
But
But we didn't see any of that.
that's true.
Maybe just on Mars you're born and you're put into robo body.
There was something else about that. I forget now. It's been so long since I read it. It's either she volunteered or she was accused of something and she had to prove herself, and what was left over, basically because it's like life or death situation, she's a witch. Even though she survived, she was horribly mangled, and they put her in a new robot bottle, and she becomes a part of, okay, you're not guilty, and
Okay, you're not guilty.
so now you're a part of the fighting force. But I might be confusing it with another one, because that's kind of
It is very anime.
it's a very common theme in a lot of these
Yeah.
mangas. But, I mean, and that's where I can see some of the criticisms about her character in itself, which I have seen, which she is a teenage girl. Like, great storyline, a lot of fun. Everyone loves the world. It's very immersive. Fighting sequences were awesome.
Acting was pretty good too.
But
Yeah.
yes, acting was great. They had a lot of high caliber people in it. But I could see how some people would get stuck on the emotions of a teenage girl.
Well, I mean, this was also kind of a movie that was aimed in bringing in the
Into the genre.
bringing in a more woman audience.
Well, I think the entire genre is now geared to bringing more
Yeah.
women into the audience, which is good.
I mean, why would you ignore
really.
50% of the population?
Because we have.
I know,
forever,
but like
I'm
now
glad
people are
I'm
like,
glad-
hey,
yeah.
let's get them buying
Yeah.
movie tickets and merchandise as well.
Well, and it's cool.
And it's cool.
Yeah. Why did they have to kill the dog? That made me mad.
I know, that
The
made
puppy,
me
this
sad.
cute puppy,
Triggers.
had to kill. Well, yeah.
And
It was to get you to hate
To
the
make-
bad guy even more.
I already hated the bad guy.
that flipped Alita's murder switch.
And it also got the dog guy to care enough to help. Otherwise,
He was
Yeah.
just sitting back during the whole fight, watching it like a spectator. I
And
thought
then
that
they-
was hilarious.
Just
And-
like laughing, just like
Yeah.
it's funny how you know in movies, even if it's supposed to the future, some random civilization, that's totally the Texan of the movie.
Yeah, right.
Just sitting back and watching some 16-year-old girl dismantle a bar full of bounty hunters.
Basically, yes. I really appreciated, though, I don't think Altered Carbon was books beforehand, but you could see a lot of parallels between, or inspiration in Altered Carbon from this society. You have a society where the elite live above everyone and have their own community, that they have the technology that if they want to, they can like improve their bodies and live forever, and it's definitely a class difference.
Well, Battle Angel Alita has been a huge influence on a lot of the cyberpunk fiction. Like, just the art of the world and the story has been around since the 80s and has been is a huge influence on people.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him cut. They could have cut the whole motorball sequence for me, and I would have liked to see more of the Cloud City or whatever they call it.
Well, you can't see the Cloud City until she gets up there, though. That's the whole thing.
But I think the motorball was essential in a way to show how it's the gladiator games. It's distraction. It is bread and games to keep the populace on the ground from trying to do anything to get up above. When everyone is putting their energy into this motorball, their resources into this motorball to either watch, to build people, it's a great distraction from people trying to organize to rebel against the people above them.
Sort of like football today.
That's what it sounds like.
Ooh, we're getting political.
But
yes, you're right. But I think they should have saved it for the second movie.
Yeah.
Like, they shouldn't have crammed it in. Like, we could have seen some of it and seen, oh, goodness, that's action-packed, and can't wait to see her doing some of that.
Right.
But
So a big part of this as the audience was sitting there judging the audience.
oh yeah,
mean,
definitely.
right,
You're
yeah.
judging because, like, obviously, no matter how mechanically enhanced people are, there are people dying.
Well, the general understanding of this is that people weren't dying. These were all like complete. A lot of them were surviving.
A lot of them were surviving.
A couple, like, people were dying in the one with Alita because they were all out to kill her, and so all bets are off the table. But most, like, yes, there were probably some people dying in there, but you see, as opposed to like blood and gore splashing around, you see their parts going and their heads like just sitting there like, oh, dang, not again.
Yeah, right.
I mean, or getting kicked around and potentially rolled over. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, it is dangerous. People do die, but, like, there weren't bunches of people dying. Like, you
No.
get the impression that, like, people smash these robot bodies up a whole lot.
Sort of like
and-
NASCAR,
Yeah.
right? You smash up the outer shell.
And
The
inside the
human
person's,
inside is still fine.
you know, still grievously wounded from decades and decades of injuries, but
Yes.
they keep on driving, right?
Right, right.
But to support this sport, they're paying gangs of kids basically to go out, and if there's a piece that they're looking for, they jump normal working class people and will basically drug them and take their arm or take their leg or take a piece that they want. So, and then they have to go to the doctor, that's one of the characters, to get something fixed or have something patched up because they were jumped for their piece because someone wanted it.
People
Also,
are
hey, they
people are getting their organs stolen
Yeah,
all the
no, that's a
time. I
thing.
mean, it's like so big business. For
Yeah,
that,
and
too.
there's no doctor you can just, like, take them to
yeah.
who'll accept oranges to give you a new kidney. They've got better health care in that city than we do.
Right. But, I mean, in a way, though, I will forgive the teenage mindset of the girl and her emotions a pass because it's only with that teenage brain mindset that you can accept her falling for that guy so quickly.
Well, but then as soon as she puts on the new body, she gets older. So her brain was older.
No?
Did you miss that part?
No, I
No.
know that she was older than he thought.
Well, no. And the body.
That the
then
comment from the
reflected, and-
assistant. Yes. But was she really older than he thought, or is that just reflecting the manga, which every 15-year-old looks like she's got the supermodel body of a...
Well, no, I did.
24-year-old.
I thought it was a mechanism to make it okay for the male to start romantically pursuing the female rather than being a teenager. And he was obviously like in his 20s.
No, I didn't take him being in his 20s at all. I
Oh,
took him as
God.
being
Yeah, he's
like
the same
18 or
kind of dumb
19.
that she is.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
he looks like he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
So
But Hollywood's been passing 20 and 30-year-olds off as high schoolers
have.
for as long as...
speaking
Right.
of which, Luke Perry died, who was one of the more famous 30-year-olds playing a high school student. So yeah,
I'd heard that.
I was sad about that.
Yep, stroke at 52.
Yeah, and I'm 53, and that's
So you're
disturbing.
overdue.
I kind of if it can take out Luke Perry, because
Yeah. Could take out anybody.
then
So what was cool, seeing Captain Marvel Friday night
Mhm.
and looking at Alita Battle Angel, I felt like Alita was a classic sci-fi with a love interest story that, was exciting, battle, things like that. But I felt like Captain Marvel was a more mature, more current, emotional superhero storyline, because there was no love interest as a focus. It's about her friendship. It's about her own issues and her own coming into power and who she is without the need of any type of romantic distractions.
I
And that was much-
really glad they did not do a love story.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
much
I
more
was-
appealing to me.
Ugh.
That
Yeah.
part of Alita kind of turned me off. I'm like,
well, it's like I like that in this. In the love interest, she was the protagonist. He was the frail to be saved.
That's
So,
Yeah.
that was
I-
very cool.
I like the flip around on that. I did.
That is
Yeah,
very
and-
cool flip.
Yeah, she ended up saving him multiple times.
Yeah.
And then he broke his body by being stupid.
Stupid.
You're never going to get ahead in the world.
John?
No.
Any
it's like
comments?
he gets one. You don't get any more puns.
Now-
Seth's still got it. Quite the
Now, I will
allocation.
say, I think one of my favorite parts of Captain Marvel was,
Spoiler warning.
was almost at the very end. And it's where she's facing that guy that kidnapped her. I can't remember what his name was.
Jude Law's character.
Yes. And he had been training her earlier in the show and telling her, don't use your power, fight me, And then he tries to use that as a way to get her not to use her powers.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
Now, don't use your obviously superior powers and
Right.
fight me hand to
Right.
hand.
And as I'm sitting there watching that, what occurred to me was, if this had been a male superhero movie, the male superhero, in order to show that he's really macho, would not have used his superpowers and would have gone in and they would have had a brutal beat the face fight, right? Which is stupid, because
I'm thinking of you, Dragon Ball Z. Thinking of you.
because if I was a guy with superpowers and I'm battling this demon who's been trying to kill me the whole show, right? And then at the end he says, "No, fight me like a man." I'm like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna hit you with my superpower." And she did that, and I'm like, "Yes, that is what you would do."
And here's
Through the
You
mountain.
don't
Yes.
define me.
Right,
I define me.
right. I
Right.
love that.
I don't need
the
your
audience
approval.
has its hand up.
the audio
Oh.
of that.
Is the microphone on?
It will be. Okay. Speak.
The classic
Wait.
Indiana.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get it there. Oh.
Speak again.
Speaking. Oh, I'm in there now.
Well, okay.
From
The
inside-
classic Indiana
from
Jones,
Inside the corn silo comes the audience.
where he's facing a guy with a big sword, and he just shoots him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's the
Oh,
same
right.
kind of thing. But here's what's even cooler about that. He tells her she has to control her emotions and do it the right way. And he was trying to incite her emotions in that last moment to make her fight, like you said, to
Yep.
prove herself. And she had control of her emotions to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
I
need
saw
to.
it as it was her whole life she'd been mansplained, and it's like, screw that. I'm going to do this my way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll tell you how you should act. And she said, no, this is how I'm going to
Yeah,
act.
he actually was said something along the lines of, "Now's your chance to earn my approval." And it's like, no.
Yeah. That struck me as being a very real human
It was
moment.
a fun scene.
Well,
Yeah, I liked it
she-
because it struck me as genuine
Yeah, it did. I felt that. I did.
versus the, oh yeah, I'm not going to use my superpowers because I'm big macho. I'm just going to go in and beat you with my man hands.
Yeah, there was also the scene earlier on where like she's at the gas station and the guy on the motorcycle pulls up and is like, "Hey, you gonna give me a smile?" And she's like busy, and he walks off and is like freak, and then she's like steals the bag.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I saw like one of the interviewers asked her, so is that based off of an incident? She's like, no, that was already in the movie. And he's like, oh, so it's one of those things where art predicting life. And she's like, no, that's just art predicting actual experiences that women have. That's what she said in so many words.
Well, like one of the
Sounds
big
Yeah, I
right.
like that too. I saw that.
Yeah, one of the things that when they released the first trailer, where I was like, "Yay!" but toxic nerd Twitter had a whole thing where they're like, "Man, she should smile," and like I didn't know if that scene was written in response to that, but apparently it wasn't.
No,
it was
it was
already in
already
the movie.
there.
They had predicted the toxic nerd asshattery.
I don't think they predicted it. I think they knew they were going to have a response no matter what to a strong female focused movie, which I feel like if they would have had a female focused movie even in the 90s, it wouldn't have generated this much active backlash beforehand. It's like everyone's super sensitive right now.
Well, we've got these people who, like in the 90s, like a lot of these, sure, there were these people out there, but they hadn't gathered in communities where they could amplify their own voices.
They hadn't had a generation to figure out that it's okay to be evil in the anonymity of the internet.
Yeah.
So they weren't quite as bold.
They weren't because that you should smile more or you look pretty when you smile or whatever. That's a common, especially back then, right?
That's
Well,
always
It's still
It's
here.
still here.
Yeah.
And I mean, because like I remember when Tank Girl came out, it wasn't there wasn't this outrage. Why are you having a female focused action movie? But it's like people were already ganging up and preparing when they knew they were doing Captain Marvel to just take it to town. So much so that Rotten Tomatoes had to change their algorithms and put restrictions so people couldn't actively ruin movies before they even were released.
And even YouTube did that.
Yep.
YouTube did that. The score for Captain Marvel on Rotten Tomatoes is still bad. Like not the critic score, but the audience score
Even
is
though
still
it's like
Really?
for the second week, it's the #1 movie.
Yeah, I
It's
know. There's a fantastic Captain Marvel meme that I think we shared around, where she's just like has this popcorn bucket full of box office money and is just like drinking a cup of male tears. Just like,
Yeah,
Yeah. I've seen that.
I like that one. Yes, but no. Overall, I thought the movie was great. It's going in a great direction. I thought both Alita and Captain Marvel were great feminist statements, each in their own way, and it made me happy to see
Nice,
both.
strong female characters in both shows.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it did. It made me happy.
and like, well, we're still like, on the topic of like Captain Marvel. Like, it has been long overdue that Marvel had a main character woman with her own solo movie.
You do have to,
I feel kind of bad for Black Widow.
well, you do have to appreciate the contradiction that they were willing to take a chance and do book movies to the level that they have, but they weren't really willing to take that next risk to have a female-focused movie. And that it took DC having a hit with Wonder Woman for them to be willing to risk the money and the resources and the advertising to have that female-focused movie.
Yeah, and Marvel has also had, well, they've all had problems of establishing these major female heroes. Marvel's been doing a lot better recently, and they're like branching that out in their comics. But I mean, before the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years or so, the field was pretty sparse for solo titles in comic books. I mean, you got Wonder Woman, but
Well, the comic book companies listen to the hater fans. It's like that's the only
Well,
gauge they had of this.
I don't think they were really hater fans, though. I think they were just like their demographic was just teenage boys. And you
Because-
see that reflected in the art style.
I mean, look at it. Just need to get him to read. We don't care what he reads. They push a comic book into a little boy's hand. Little girls, here, read The Secret Garden. Here, read Little Women. Like the types of reading material put into the hands of kids is very different when it gets to middle school. It's like, we're just happy that he reads versus she should be reading the classics.
Well, I'm just excited for the next decade of girls that grow up dealing with serious movies that portray females in a positive light. And it's like, I think that's, if there's anything that's going to smack the patriarchy in the face, it's something like this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the next generation of like creators who grow up with this as source material and the stories they will tell inspired by this.
And
Captain
in
Marvel,
time,
Alita, and
this will just be the
future
way it
movies.
is. It's like, this is how we're going to, we're starting to see a new phase where the patriarchal domination of media is starting to decline, and that's everything I could possibly want.
And I think what Captain Marvel, especially with the success, I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but I think it is incredibly significant. Because whether or not you want to call it a feminist movie or not, I just feel like it's a accurate, fair representative of a human trying to be a human who happens to be a woman.
That's feminism is equality. That's all it is. It's like.
But some people want to attach a hot box political issue, and they shut down when you use the word feminism.
Yeah,
and
then you have to reach out, slap them, and say, "This is what feminism means." And it's like, you can't let them define it.
So, and now you've ruined the conversation, because when you say I slap a person, you're shutting down the conversation. Nothing else will be done because now you've had action when you've got to keep talking. But to get to the point that I'm trying to make.
No. But okay, continue, please. Just going to throw in my no. Did I put the no? I'll put it over here. There it is.
I appreciate you interrupting and trying to tell me.
Bet. It's my pleasure.
Oh,
So-
boy.
He'd like you to smile more too.
I'm sure. the funny thing is, Seth knows what my smiles mean.
Yes, that's the I'll cut a bitch smile.
So, what she does is she doesn't need a man to emotionally trigger protectiveness or heroism. She steps up to save the world because that's who she is. She was in a position, like, she respected Marvel as a scientist and as someone trying to fix the world. She's put into a position that when she knew she was going to shoot that core, she probably assumed she was going to die.
Yeah.
And she does the heroic thing as just a human. You see in her life, she keeps getting back up, not because someone killed a puppy or somebody shot her significant other or threatened her child, which is the maternal thing, just as a human being who has it in her to endure, to get up, to do the right thing, and she pushes through.
Well, and they even showed that in the show, right? Because they had that little montage towards the end where she was driving a go-kart and crashed it and, got up and dusted herself off and is ready for the next thing, right? And there were a couple other scenes like that. I can't remember all of them right now, but I thought that was good, that it showed, she doesn't need a guy to come over and help her up, or are you okay? Did you get hurt? No, she gets up, dusts herself off, and she's ready for the next thing. And that was great, I thought.
I mean, you look at the life that she's built before she leaves. I mean, the little girl explaining, this is a picture of you and your parents, but you didn't really get along with them, so you became a part of our family. She had this whole independent life with her best friend, and just doing their thing, trying to serve their country for the sake of doing the right thing.
Well, like one of the things, so they take her to Hala, the Kree homeworld,
Right.
and she's lost all her memories. And so there, they basically tell her that everything she has, they've given her.
Right.
All her power, all her strength, all her abilities they've given her, they've rebuilt her, they've made her a better her.
Yes.
And actually, all they really gave her was the limiter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they actually limited her.
Yeah.
not-
Well, she did have blue blood. I
Well, they gave her blue blood,
but yeah, I don't know how that works, but
Transfusion.
well, yeah, but it's like
Happened in Edge of Tomorrow.
Are you talking about when she starts having her flashbacks first? Because I saw the blue blood when she was having the artificial flashbacks that they gave her, because I think she was partially remembering Marvel's blood being on her.
Right.
But then when they show her full memory coming back with the sequences, her blood was red.
oh,
Right.
so she
Well-
yeah, but that was when she was still that
Yeah,
was
they took her to
pre-Kree.
they took her to Hala and made her part Kree. But yeah, what they were basically like they said, yeah, we've made you a better version of yourself, and
Right.
she was already that better version of herself, and they'd taken that away. So, and that was kind of what felt to me like the ending, the final arc of her character growth.
Well, and
Or not
I
final,
liked the fact that they swapped the good guys in the beginning.
I did too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Not
love
the good
that.
guys.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
There's the swap, and there's you feel
That surprised me. I like that.
yeah, but you can tell she's the people she thought were the good guys.
Right. For the bad guys.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's actually something that surprised me because the Skrulls are kind of the classic bad guys of the
I
of
thought,
the Marvel universe.
I remember the Skrulls being bad. It's like in the books I've read.
And sometimes the Kree are bad, but usually they're cast as the noble warrior heroes versus the Skrulls, who
Because
are
they had a better
always
publicist.
Yeah, the Skrulls were always bad. It's like, and then the Kree were fighting with Ronan, which I thought so that makes them a good. If you fight the enemy of my enemies, which are the Avengers, or at least Peter Quill.
bad. Yeah.
No, he's not an Avenger.
Well, see, Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of portrayed as I thought he was a rogue
Yep.
Kree.
Rogue agent, because he felt like his people were not hard enough on the people they used to war with.
Yeah, but he was
In
never.
MCU.
He wasn't going after the Skrull in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was just.
He's
kinda
after
doing his
Nova
own thing.
Corps, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was going after the Nova Corps.
Which
For
they used to fight with. I thought
Okay, so this is Cosmic Marvel, and my knowledge of Cosmic Marvel isn't all that great, so I can't tell you the comic book history going in there.
All I
no, I'm
know
just going
is,
off the MCU.
The Nova Corps was more underwhelming than I thought the Nova Corps should be. I kind of thought they had a little bit more to them, but
There's a hero, Nova, who's in the comics and some of the
where did he
TV
go?
shows.
Where was he?
And he's got the cosmic superpowers too. Kind of, I don't know if he's on par with Captain Marvel or not, but Nova's pretty badass. And he's part of the Nova Corps. So I was also kind of a little disappointed in in the Nova Corps of the movies. But who knows? Maybe after their planet got thoroughly crushed by Thanos, they're gonna change it around a bit and get some of this.
I almost took Nova Corps in that as, especially with the way they set up the conflict with Ronan, was that it used to be a lot of warfare, and they're at a peaceful point that they're kind of soft. Societies that have a lot of peace can get a little soft, and that's where at the stage where they were actually very advanced. They had a good military and everything, but they didn't have the edge anymore. That's the way I interpreted
Eye of the
that.
Tiger they didn't have.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we see in Captain Marvel that basically anyone who doesn't go under Kree rule, they're gonna try and kill. So
To make an example for others.
yeah.
Where does Captain Marvel fit into the Power Cosmic? Because we're having a talk about that.
Captain, fit into it or
Well,
compare to it?
Compared to it.
I have no idea.
I know she's not in the top 20.
Of
I've
the
seen.
strongest
Yeah,
Marvel
characters.
Of-
Maybe not even the top 40 for Marvel.
Well, that's the comic universe,
I
though.
know.
In the MCU, I think she's the most powerful established character aside from
Gila.
Thanos.
Thanos and Gila. Gila was incredibly powerful.
Is
Well,
Gila coming back? Because I know that Thanos has a relationship with death, and it's like Gila is the goddess. Of
No,
death.
she's Thanos has in the comics he has a crush, a romance with the personification of death. Hela is just the goddess of death.
Yeah.
So like he likes the Grim Reaper, like the female Grim Reaper, basically.
And that's why he curses Deadpool with immortality, so he can never join her, because he's jealous that Death has fallen in love with Wade, because when they kept killing him and bringing him back, she saw him so much that she fell in love with him.
So Thanos made Wade immortal.
So yeah,
Yes.
so he had his healing powers, and there was this like Jenna said, he keeps dying and going back, and Death falls in love with Wade, who Thanos is in love with Death, and he then curses Wade with immortality so that they can never be together, and then he annoys Thanos so much that he then eventually removes the curse.
Okay, chances of Deadpool being in Endgame?
Fairly, very, very low.
I would agree because of the timing, but it's like, do you think that they might try to squeeze it?
Fox would demand so much money.
No, they own it as of
Yeah.
the 20th.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
So
like, there's an outside chance in my mind because, like, we just saw the new trailer, right?
Yes.
Everyone's seen the new trailer?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's in those snazzy new uniforms. They're
are
probably...
those quantum suits?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're quantum suits, so they're going into the quantum realm. And so there is an outside chance that through fiddling around in the quantum realm, they somehow bring over these other characters or something. And who, like, if they want to do that, sure. Maybe Deadpool comes into the main Marvel Comics continuity,
Or
maybe
the X-Men.
Maybe it'll just be a.
He could have always been there. It's just no one paying attention to him.
I mean,
It's
maybe they
like,
decide to sell it off like that, but there are no mutants
Right.
in the MCU.
Well, there
Yeah.
haven't been. No, they didn't say that there weren't any. They
Okay,
just said that there
yeah,
haven't
but they're
been.
going around with a giant Cyclops, or with, gosh dang it, Colossus. Like, he's pretty hard to miss, and
Well,
with shields...
They don't have to bring that.
Actually,
they can leave that behind.
If you think about it, the way Nick Fury talks about the fact that there's no one else with these abilities
Yeah.
in Captain Marvel, and that there's numerous points throughout all the movies that they talk about these people are new people, they're a new thing, they need to be restricted. If there were mutants in this world, it wouldn't be a quote unquote new thing. The way everyone is reacting to it.
They're not just going to be able
Yeah.
to retcon it in.
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. should have known about the X-Men. If they go by the traditional standards of the X-Men.
The whole world would know about them. It wouldn't be a surprise that New York is getting demolished by people with superhuman abilities.
Yeah, I mean, Apocalypse shows up. The Avengers are going to take notice, or Nick Fury at least.
Well, I'm assuming everything that's happened in the Fox universe is retconned out. So
that could
whatever
be.
they're going to do,
But
I mean...
they're also... I don't think they can do that because they're still coming out with another X-Men movie.
Well, they can do that.
After-
They can do anything they want. It's like...
Well, either way...
I mean, do you remember the first Hulk movie by Ang Lee that was promptly replaced by the second Hulk movie that then became
Yes.
canon? So, yeah.
I try and forget that Ang Lee Hulk
We
movie.
all do.
The
but it's there.
stupid Hulkified poodles. Oh my god, that was dumb.
Yeah, that was,
I didn't
that
see
was
that
it.
one.
So
Sounds like I'm not missing much.
You're not.
No.
You're not.
You're missing just 2 hours of awful.
Yeah. The death of a director is basically what you're witnessing there. But it's like,
And his attempt to take a franchise down with him.
yeah.
one last note on just the awesomeness of Captain Marvel and how they brought all these great, themes together. The music I feel like was just in
yeah.
full support
Yes,
because they
it was.
stayed in the 90s, and the music and the songs that they used to support, there was a lot of songs about just being a woman and people trying to limit you or hold you back. The fact that they ended the big fighting sequence on "I'm Just a Girl,"
Yes.
I mean, it's huge, and I thought that was a very thoughtful, detailed thing, because I specifically remember being like, oh God, what I would have been like 8, 9, and my aunt singing that around the house when I'd go to visit, and her saying, "I love it because it's so true." Like, that song stood out to her for a reason, and a lot of women, I think, out for a reason, because of a lot of what was going on at that time. And I felt it was a beautiful touch, and I can't wait to buy the soundtrack, to be honest.
I've been tasked with acquiring the soundtrack. I haven't done it yet.
I like the way the soundtracks for MCU have been going since the first Guardian of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
I really do.
Well, that's because I think the people who are doing it love it. James Gunn made a very personal effort. Like, that's his playlist for Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, so it's.
And they've also done a really good job of like tying the music choice into the story
And to
like,
connect all the movies.
They're not just random songs that they picked that they thought sounded pretty good for that particular scene. They're actually like the soundtrack was chosen to mean something along with the movie.
Because we all heard it. Like
or accompany it.
We all heard it when the specific Avengers theme started stringing at the very end of the Captain Marvel. Like, before that you didn't hear it, and now because it's like tying all that theme of this is what this group is going to be, this is the presence it's going to have in the later movies or in the later timeline.
How did Captain Marvel get into the top secret Avengers headquarters at the end? Like Black Widow turns around, there she is.
I'm imagining that there are a bunch of holes in the wall somewhere.
I imagine that you're right about that.
But like
I'm not saying she couldn't get in. I'm just wondering how she got in without,
Yeah.
Because you noticed the holes. I think there'd be a siren. They like sirens.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
while we're on music though, the immigrant song at the in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that so much.
Indeed.
So
I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen Thor Ragnarok?
He hasn't seen any MCU.
Yet, no, Ron, not true.
You've seen like the Iron Man movies, and that's
I've seen Iron Man. I've seen the Spider-Man. I've seen
the Spider-Man.
The
Ant-
Spider-Man?
Ant and the Wasp.
Did you see Ant-Man?
Ant-Man we've
I
seen.
would hope you've seen Ant-Man
Yes.
before you see Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I've seen
but,
Ant-Man.
all right.
Yeah.
Because you basically
What
have
else is
a
out there?
co-star role in the Ant-Man.
What?
You could do a pretty good. Oh dang! What's Michael Douglas's
Pym?
character? Yeah, Dr. Pym. You could do
Yeah,
a pretty
you-
good Dr. Pym.
You would be, you could be quite the cantankerous scientist who invents the Pym particle. Yeah, yeah.
that would be fun.
Oh wait, he had a goatee too.
But yeah, we
You
should.
could cosplay that.
Yeah,
You could-
that's what
you
I'm
could-
saying.
You could nail that. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
But apparently, we need to have a Marvel movie party with Galactic Driftwood.
That would
here.
require
Yeah.
a Marvel movie weekend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm down.
But
So-
I mean, I'm cool with it.
How-
but the number of movies Bell's hasn't seen is like that's
No,
not just a weekend.
I don't think
is it?
there's a huge number that I haven't
All
seen.
right. How
have
many
you
Guardians
seen
of the Gal-
Captain America: Winter Soldier?
Yes.
Have you seen Civil War? Have you seen any of the Guardian of the Galaxy movies?
Yes. Guardian of the Galaxy, seen all of those.
All of those.
Yep.
Both those.
Mhm.
Okay. The Avengers movies.
But can I just say Kurt Russell was amazing in the
Yeah.
second Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, he played a good ego.
So
He
in the Winter Soldier, was it you who were pointing out to me that
Yes.
scene where Nick Fury's like they asked him what happened to his eye, and he's like, "I trust something once, and I lost an eye."
And so I never yeah. I know, because like that's where because Captain America is laying into him saying, "Why didn't you tell me about this other part that Black Widow was going to do?" And blah blah blah. With trust, I need to be able to trust my team. And he's like, "You know what? It's about a need to know thing because I trusted something once and I lost an eye for it, or I trusted someone once and I lost my eye for it."
Well, a flurkin is a someone, I think. It's like I don't know what it is. It's not a cat.
Something with
I'll tell you
that,
that right now.
something with that much death ability is definitely qualifies as someone. Just
Is
so
it
you don't piss it off.
Yeah.
Is it intelligent? I mean, because I don't
Obviously.
know.
Seemed to be.
if
It
Seemed to be, yeah.
It didn't just randomly attack people. It attacked the bad people.
And
And
it was showing a lot of restraint in not eating anything before, like, the time came.
That we know of. You don't know what the turnover rate was at Pegasus.
don't know.
Hey, has anyone seen? Hey,
What is that
Tom, have you
intern?
seen Brad?
Yeah.
Tom? Tom?
Now, I still don't understand why the Flurkin scratched his eye out.
Because he
He was done. He needed a catnap.
Yeah, like
You don't mess with
he
grumpy
gave him
cats.
the goose gave him the clear, like he was going over, and it hissed, and then he kept going and the cat was like, nope.
Done.
Cat almost did that.
You
me
need to
once.
listen to
Yeah.
the warnings your cat gives you.
This is accurate.
Yeah, because they don't play. They don't play.
So we've been successful. We've had Wonder Woman, which was amazing. We've now had Alita. We've now had Captain Marvel. As our closing question, who should be the next character we get a movie for?
I'd like to see a Batgirl movie. A good
Barbara
one.
Gordon fan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who would
Well,
be good at playing the
I
role, but
was very pleased in Into the Spider-Verse when Dr. Octopus was a female. And I thought that it was well done. I
Yeah.
thought it fit in.
Oh
really
yeah, that
well.
was a good twist
Yeah,
That
into
was
the
great.
Spider-Verse.
that or maybe a Game of Thrones spin-off with Brienne of Tarth.
No, I can get behind that because
Yeah.
she's a badass.
She is.
She is. She just starts just
Yeah.
busting people up
Yeah.
when they're around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I did.
Jenna, you?
Black Widow. I mean,
Oh,
not just because I love Scarlet.
Is that going to just end up being a Red Sparrow rehash?
There's a lot deeper questions I think that could be brought up to that, because one of the things they take away is her ability to reproduce. Like they lose. So I think it's just she is a pure weapon, and the question of you admire a female character that's also using her sexuality, which makes a lot of women uncomfortable, to get what she wants and to serve a purpose. I think, but she's also intelligent and very strategic. So I think what her character in a movie about her will bring up a lot of really interesting themes and conversations that need to be had. And she's also, if you think about it, she's kind of like Hawkeye. She doesn't have any, well, her serum is supposed to be similar to what was used on Captain America, but she doesn't have near the powers that a lot of other characters
I didn't know she
do.
had a serum.
Yeah, because she's actually quite old when you look at the comic book movies. Like right now, I think she's technically in her 60s, but she's had as part of her,
Transformation.
yeah, to be a better weapon. They experimented. Russia came up with its own serum similar to Captain America, but I think she might have to keep getting it. I forget. There's a couple of different arcs that go with that, and so that's why I think she needs to be brought out more. She's a powerful character without having all the gadgets and gimmicks and innate abilities like Thor or the Hulk. So yeah, I would love to see what they do with that and the conversations that can be had.
Okay. Charles?
Oh, I have no idea.
What?
Who would be the next?
Who would you like to see a movie, like a
I-
female character you'd like to see a movie about? And I use the word female because, if she's alien, she wouldn't be a woman.
Right.
He's Charles
I
isn't
miss-
our resident comic expert.
Yeah, I'm not a big. I miss Cena. I don't know.
Actually, I'm okay with that answer because I was thinking of her too just now.
I liked how Lucy Lawless did that. I really did. It was one of my favorite shows. But I like to watch Hercules Xena together. It was just, there's 2 hours of my day that I'm just going to
See, and I don't know anything about the Black Widow character. It's not. I'm not a big fan of these astronomical superpowers. To me, it gets old real quick. I know, but Wolverine was always fun for me just because there's, and they take him too far too. But it's just he has a couple of things like he heals and he's got the claws, and he's kind of a jerk. It sounds like in a way, and but there's some character development. Whereas like Superman, I can't stand. Right, because it's just too much.
He's a flying MacGuffin. Whatever you need, Superman has all of a sudden in his backstory.
Yeah.
You need to reverse time. He flies around the Earth counterclockwise.
So
they've been
I'd rather
doing
have
better with modern Superman stories.
They have. They really have. They've tried to limit his powers a little bit more.
And they give him challenges that are, they set up challenges that are up to his power set.
Although it is going to be interesting to see what happens with Brightburn.
Ooh.
Have you seen the
Yes,
trailer?
I want to see that. That's going to be
Yes,
great.
for
I haven't
those
heard of that. What's
who
that?
it's basically is it James Gunn?
It's
It is-
James
Yeah,
Gunn.
James Gunn.
a horror movie spin on the fact of Superman's origin, and it recognizing that most kids who suddenly realize they have innate amazing abilities, probably not going to be that responsible with them
Right.
or kind, especially if they've been bullied and bullied and bullied,
Sure.
and they snap.
That makes sense.
So it's almost
It is a horror movie Superman.
But it's a
Yeah.
realistic. It's like it's the kid. There's a good chance Superman would end up like this rather than the Clark Kent we know. It's like that's why I want to see a black Superman, because I want to see what someone with those kind of powers would do if he grew up in a world where he was a second-class citizen or she was a second-class citizen, or a female Superman.
So John, which movie do you want to see?
Spider-Woman, but only you got to have a good
Spider-Woman or Spider-Gwen?
Spider-Woman, because Spider-Woman hates Spider-Man, and I like the dynamic.
So the Avenger Spider-Woman.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would like to see that.
I don't think she hates Spider-Man.
They don't get along. At least some iterations don't get along.
Some iterations,
But
yeah.
now the Spider-Man we have now is a kid, so I don't know how that would work. But it's like the traditional older, like the Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I think they wouldn't get along.
Maybe? I don't know.
But I'd like to see that dynamic. I really
Given
would
that
like,
she doesn't really have spider powers.
but she calls herself that.
I know. There was a text from Superheroes where where Spider-Man was like, okay, all you different like spider people, we need to get online with the spider powers, or it's like, Spider-Woman, you shoot lasers out of your hands. And she's like, yeah, like a spider. And he's like, what kind
Like
of
a
spiders do you know?
What kind of spiders do you have? Yeah.
All right. Well, Seth, who do you?
Ms. Marvel. So, Ms. Marvel. So, Captain Marvel used to go under the moniker Ms. Marvel. And, but they have, in the comics, in the last, I think, 6 years or so, ever since she became Captain Marvel, the Ms. Marvel role was kind of free. And so, they debuted a new Ms. Marvel comic with Kamala Khan, who is Marvel's not first, but one of their most successful, actually, Muslim superheroes. And she is an Inhuman, which they've got going in the extended Marvel universe right now through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But she's an Inhuman, and she's a teenage girl who was inspired by Captain Marvel, and she's one of her heroes, and decides to, like, when she gets her superpowers and decides to start fighting crime, takes up the Ms. Marvel mantle. And it's a really fun comic series. Like, if you're interested in reading something that's like fun, the first Ms. Marvel run is a lot of fun. And she's an excellent character, and I think it would make for a fantastic movie.
Cool.
Excellent.
All right. Well,
Do you think there's room for Carol Danvers' friend?
Oh, yes.
In the MCU somewhere?
Yeah, she's actually, I believe, the superhero known as Photon, which I don't know too much about, but there were apparently some hints dropped in the movie about that. So
Okay, sweet.
Oh, when Nick Fury's offering her a job?
yeah, something like that. I don't know enough about Photon as a character.
So does she have powers now, or did
I
they
don't
get
think
them later,
now. I
or-
think she will eventually either get. I don't know.
All right.
I would need to actually research.
I think I'd like to
character.
see that. I think I would. Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on Galactic Driftwood. I'm Bill.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Charles.
I'm John.
And I'm Seth. Like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Leave your comments. Tell us who you want to see to be the next, female movie lead, and continuing this awesome conversation.
Tell us what I got wrong about comics today.
And we
Oh,
are
God.
on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So
Yep.
look us up.
Bye, y'all.
Ciao.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, Please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.